Hey everybody, Tyler here, and welcome to another episode of Art Stuff. That's the official name we're going with. Hope you like it, and hope you're doing something creative on your end. Let's hang out for a little bit together. Let's get in the zone, get in the flow state, and try and do some art stuff together. We've been working on this guy for quite a while now, and I'm very excited to be wrapping it up this stream. The dramatic conclusion of Samhain from the Real Ghostbusters cartoon. Uh, I think we'll probably just spend the rest of the stream finishing this guy up. I don't see any reason to rush it. So we'll probably get to the next guy in the next stream. I had to think about that. I just don't like starting something new in the middle of the stream. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So either way, I think we'll have a lot of fun playing with the finishing touches. And there's plenty of things that I want to do to this guy before we can call him done. Uh, Pulling him open again after not having looked at him for a week, I was thinking to myself, well, it might just be creepier if we just black out the eyes and then we go with some kind of glow from the inside as a finishing touch versus we have sort of like a physical eye in there that I never really knew what it was made of. And so I think it's probably better that we just, make that a little bit simpler of a read. And so to do that, let's just come in here and shadow that out. And maybe we'll even kind of just increase the shadowing on the other eye here, even though it's a fainter eye. And we may have to come in, and I think we've got a flat for that weird little eye as well. And if I can find that, then we can also. I just want to make sure that's the only thing that's on that layer so we don't accidentally delete anything else. Yeah, okay. So we're good there. And then that shadow doesn't have to do quite as much hard work to. Oh, actually, we've got still a dark element in there, don't we? Well, the darkness I don't mind, and some of this stuff is a little fiddly. It might just be better to wait to do this till we have it flattened later. It's such a small element, but I'm kind of a layer snob, and I like to keep things organized if I can. If I just yeah, I think it's going to be too hard to decode what was going on there, so that's fine. We'll just live with that as an overpaint. Yeah, I try to minimize these like one-off corrective layers until the very, very end, and we're not really there yet because then we're going to kind of fight with stuff. But I think it's okay. I think we can just go with that for now. Um, and then I was kind of looking at this area down here, and I was sort of feeling like the the tangent between this root and the bottom of this. At first, I was thinking, well, it's kind of clever because the scythe is touching on the ground and the roots kind of curling around it. But I feel like it just is a little too distracting. So I'm not going to address that right now. But in the overpaint, I'm going to probably tweak that. I'm gonna finesse that a little bit. Um, and then I also feel like the roots down here are just a little bit too bright. So for that, that's an easy fix. I'll just use a soft light layer. We'll just go in with some super dark orangey red color, and I'm just gonna kind of pull that down. Yeah, they just all felt like they're a little bit too bright. We're thinking is lighting kind of from above, right? So we want a little bit of fall off towards the bottom here, and I think that helps a bit. Now, in terms of the shadow underneath the character, that also just needs to get a little bit darker in some selective areas. So we're going to bring that in a little heavier, and we can kind of finesse that in the final. And then we can think about some color variation on the leaves. That was something that I thought might be kind of cool to play with. So let's go to the leaf layer. There's our leaves. We're going to add a new layer clipped to the leaves. And I think we did put in a little bit of texture on the leaves. Did we? Maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't. And so, yeah, what might be good here is I'm going to search for fall leaves picture. If I can get a good one pulled up over here. I'm just looking for an image that has some color variety in it. Let's see, copy image. And so something like that, I feel like, is going to be good. And the reason I have this here is because I'm going to use a mixer brush to bring in some variation in these leaves. These are some new things I'm playing with recently, and I'm liking just how easy it makes it to get some variation in. Uh, they're really powerful, but one of the challenges with the mixer brush is that you have to have something to sample from to pick up all of the cool colors. And an easy way to get that is to just find a photo that has some of the color variants you want in it. So if we like sample here, I'm going to pull over this little toolbar that's usually along the whole top, but I move it over because I want more screen space. But the toolbar will reveal to you what we've sampled. You'll see that the portion of this photo is now basically loaded onto our brush. So if I paint with this, you'll see that this thing has all kinds of awesome colors in it. And there's some little hints of dark and light, there's some yellow, there's some red, there's some orange, and it can be a way to bring in some really cool variation in texture. Um, Now we want to kind of maybe vary it from leaf to leaf, so I may just sample from different parts of this photo. And again, we're working on another layer on top of our base, so if we do all this and it feels like it's just too strong, it doesn't matter. And then once we have enough of this stuff in our image here, then we can actually just sample from our image without having to go to the photo, because now we've got enough kind of information living on our canvas to grab from. But in these initial stages, though, it can just feel a little daunting to figure out where to get all that color variation from. So, I mean, you could sample from one of your own paintings, right? You might have a painting you finished that has some really nice colors in it. You might find a photo like this one of these leaves that might be interesting to pull from. You could use maybe like a tiling texture or pattern that you have as a source as well. Obviously, things within your own painting that you've already done could be a good source. I just don't feel like I have anything I want to use uh, for these leaves in this painting right now. But like, see, look at that though. That's super cool. And there's just no way I would have thought to do that without that just kind of happening. So there's a little bit of that fun, chaotic invention happening that I love so much. And when you're doing this, depending on the brush preset you're using, I'm using one here that it kind of reveals the angle of the strokes quite a bit. So when I'm painting, I have to think about. I mean, you always should think about this, but it's particularly obvious the mark making that you're doing when you have a brush that shows all of this stroke information, right? Like you can see the striations and everything. If you have your brush loaded with something that's working well for you, then I recommend that you go around and use it wherever you think you're going to need it. So I've got a really cool like red thing happening on my brush right now. And so I'm going to go around here and I'm going to just find every leaf that I think wants some of this red and I'm going to hit it. So that way I don't have to try and find this perfect sample again from that photo. You could take this into a more sort of organized approach. You could build an image with palette, swatches or something. I mean, you could get really, really fancy with it, but for our purposes here, I prefer to just kind of be a little bit organic with it. So we got all the reds in. Now I found something here that's a little bit more orangey. I kind of did that here. Something kind of cool happening. There's a little bit of dark and light happening. And you might be looking at this and thinking, well, these don't look like the photo. Like these leaves feel different. I'm not going for 100%, botanical accuracy here. I'm just going for something that is evocative of fall leaves and has some fun texture and color variation. And the botanists can go hang out somewhere else if they're upset at the inaccuracies here. This is kind of like when people critique a suit of armor, and they say, "Well, that armor doesn't work because I could stab that person in the thigh if I, got my blade in between that crack that you designed there." Um, and then I sort of point out, well, there's these other completely ridiculous things in this universe. Why are we suddenly worried about that one crack in the armor? They're shooting magic fireballs and stuff. So just calm down. But it depends, of course. Like if you're designing a universe that is intended to feel like hyper realistic, then you do have to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you're designing for film and someone has to wear the outfit, that's something you have to think a little bit more cautiously about. But hey, Jess, thanks. I appreciate that. We're just having some fun with some mixer brush stuff right now. I'm trying to get some cool leaf stuff happening. So we're cannibalizing from this little photo over here on the side. So you can kind of see we're getting, it's more obvious if I turn this layer on and off. You can see this is what we started with, which was fine, right? Like we knew that we wanted a warmer tone for the leaves. It created this helpful focal point around the head of the character, so it was serving a purpose. But then we turn this on, and it's like, okay, that's that little extra little bit of spiciness that we wanted. And a lot of times when you're looking at really cool art, the devil is in those details, right? Like, they got all the foundational stuff correct, but then they went that little extra mile. And us art snobs, we really get excited about all those little details, right? Fun little narrative hints, the little textures and stuff. You know what? You can use blending modes with this, and I have, but I think interestingly, I feel a little bit less inclined to go blending mode with this because the way that I'm using it is to give this sort of an opaque layer, like an opaque paint layer, because I like that you sort of see the stroke information and the nuance, and the blending mode sort of puts it back into that digital sort of translucency mode, which I feel like that the piece is just sort of uh, you know uh, liberally doused in that sort of look, just by nature of it being Photoshop. So, but I mean, heck, there's no rules, right? You can definitely play with that. I think there could be some really cool results there. Now, what is happening with this edge really keeps bugging me, and I feel like that cropped up somewhere along the way, and we never really figured that out. What happened there? You know what it might be? It might be the mask that's off. Is it? No, I might have just solved it. Oh yeah, I totally just solved it. I'm the best at Photoshop, guys. Super good at it. Okay. Oh, that's a relief. Man, that was really bugging me. All right. Remember to save your work, everybody. Save often. You know the drill. Let's move this back over here. And I think, yeah, the leaves are looking much spicier now. So is there anything else we want to do? I guess yeah, that's probably the main place I wanted to make use of the mixer brush. Okay, so looking at lighting again. So I think we want to address some lighting stuff before we get into special effects. That's I think kind of like the end move. That's the finishing move. Although actually, wait a minute. I'm looking at this image now. These leaves do have a little bit of sheen to them, don't they? Okay, so I think we want a little bit of non-metallic specular reflection on these leaves. So let's do that. I'm always down for an excuse to put a little bit of shininess on something. If Pyotr Yablonsky was here, he would be shaming us for our excessive use of specularity. I don't know him. I don't know if he would actually say that, but just based on his art, I feel like he would be like, "You don't need the spec. The spec is abusive. All you need is perfect shadows and darkness." Sometimes you see people's artwork and you expect them to look a certain way in person. You know, if their art is all dark and brooding, you know, you want them to be like a wearing all black and black eyeliner or something. It's really kind of funny. Just I do. Maybe other people don't do that. I kind of like have this weird like, or like Corey Loftus does the Zootopia, Disney cute animals and stuff, and it's like you kind of expect them to be this like, you know, jovial, colorful person. Not that he isn't. I've only met him once, but he seemed like a really cool guy. Are we abusing this spec too much? If we look at this photo, it is quite minimal, but trying to just hit it in a few spots. We probably don't want to put too many on the front there because I feel like the pumpkin head is trying to give this sort of a shadowy quality to this area. So I might just kind of keep it a little minimal there. But I don't mind spending a little extra time up here because this is again the focal point of the design, and if this is pulling people in, then we're doing our job. Oh, that's a nice one right there. Okay. Sometimes we have a happy accident. I don't want to just hit a little harder right in here. These leaves they're kind of curling down, so I'm almost thinking of them like a ribbon or like a spiraling cylinder, kind of like you would do hair. So I'm trying to think of these sort of like rings of light that would be maybe hitting. And here I'm kind of going against that idea of the pumpkin shadow, but I kind of like this sort of idea of a ribbon like quality to the leaves. So let's turn this on and off and kind of see. Again, it's one of those things where you don't really notice the impact of that addition until you turn it on and off. Like, this piece here, it's fine. But this one hits you, right? Hopefully. That's the goal anyway. Do you ever do pumpkin carvings for Halloween? Yeah, Halloween's my favorite holiday, by far, like by a wide stretch, and I have been known to carve uh, what do you call a gaggle of pumpkins for Halloween and put them out. I've got in front of my house. I've got like a walkway, and there's these four pillars. It's the perfect opportunity to carve four pumpkins. I'll just say that. Okay, we got the specular on the hands. This cloth is intended to feel very sort of dry and burlappy. Um, he might smell like potatoes. We don't know. Um, but I don't think we want to add any specularity there. So yeah, kind of what I was getting to before I noticed the speck on the leaves needing to be a thing is also, does that yellow leaf feel like it's really out of place? Maybe not. It kind of is in a good spot because it's kind of at the front. It doesn't fight with the pumpkins. So, okay, we'll leave it. It'll be a special leaf. It's his lucky leaf. So I was thinking about maybe doing a little bit more contrasty lighting for this. I knew I wanted a rim light in here. The position of it was in question. I want to just play around for a moment with potentially a little bit darker background. Like maybe we even just go black back here. This is going to start to get really, really spooky looking, you guys. So I'm just kidding. It's just a picture, but we're going to try to have some fun. And, and maybe there's like implication that there's a little bit of light kind of coming from above like this. And then maybe we have some rim lighting kind of from above, kind of behind, is my thinking there. So maybe from over here a little bit. I might have actually misplaced that. Maybe the light wanted to be a little bit over here more, something like that. Now I don't know. It could be that we want a color to this light. We'll sort of explore that as we put the rim light in. But I'm also thinking it might be interesting to have a little bit more light kind of on the ground. So let's do that, but let's do it with a cloud brush so we get a little bit of free random weirdness going on. And I'm a big fan of random weirdness, so let's do that. Oh, that might be too much cloudiness. Oh, that's not okay. Yeah, I have like a million cloud brushes, and it usually takes me a few minutes to figure out which cloud brush is going to be right. Maybe the problem is that I need to build this up with lower opacity. These are all cool cloud brushes, but okay, let's see if we can maybe build it up with this one just a little bit. I don't know. This might be one of those things where we sort of just we go too far, and then we acknowledge that it's too much, and then we pull it back. But I don't know. I don't know exactly how much I want to go here with this. There's something pretty dramatic, I think, about going kind of high contrast like this with it. But it's always scary to do something so extreme. So we kind of turn that off. Now, one of the things to know about this is that it it won't necessarily feel correct until we get the rim light in here. It's also going to feel really loud compared to where we want people to look, which is the head of the character without the rim light. So it's something where I think right now this is going to look better without the white because the rim light is in place. But when we add it, I think it'll work better. but it's its own layer, so we can always just turn it off if we don't like it. But I think I'm kind of like working toward this. I'm kind of curious as well if maybe it'd be fun to play with a little bit of like a cooler tint to it potentially. That's interesting, right? Let's see. It might go with like a bluer light on the character, which is probably good to complement all the warm stuff we got going on in the character itself. And we're gonna have warm light from his the jack o' lantern, right? The inside, he's gonna have some kind of glow that's warmer there. Don't know what we're gonna do in the hourglasses yet, but I think this is probably a good moment to start to bring in that lighting from the top. So let's add a rim light layer, and I also like to mask that so we don't have to worry about staying in the lines. And it's very important that the next step as we drink a little bit of our Spindrift Fuji apple. If you don't have that, then the painting won't look as good. And then we start adding the rim light. Now, the little secret that I like to do with the rim light is to paint accidentally in the mask so you can't see anything. And once you fix that, then you select the real layer and then you start painting. There we go. And you put an outer glow. Here, I'll go show you the layer style. Put an outer glow on it. We just set it to normal mode. We don't need anything fancy here. We're going to set it to the color of our rim light, which in this case, I'm going to try this like kind of a true blue color, like give it a little bit of a cooler tinge. And then we're going to go opacity full. It's probably hard to see this. Actually, maybe you can see it on the stream. There's a little bit of like a blue glow around it, but it's too big right now. We're going to pull the size all the way down to 0, and you see how it gives it this little bit of color halo. And now we can play with how intense we want it. I usually go 100% at first, and then I pull it down until I feel like I'm just getting a hint of it. And what it does is, as you contour the light and dither it, the white becomes more of that color, and you can get some fun effects going on with that. It's kind of a free way to colorize your rim light. And it's a layer style, so you can just change it whenever you want to. You can adjust the opacity of it, and you're just working with white, so it's really nice. Now, what happens typically is that I'm way too timid about this rim light when I first start, and then I slowly get a little more confident to put it a little heavier in. So bear with me as we walk down that journey. So hopefully you can kind of see we get like again this little bit of light from off camera, and then we have the rim light here hitting, and then it kind of completes the situation. Yes, you only have water. Yeah, your art's going to be at least 5% worse with only water, unfortunately. But you'll be well hydrated at least though, so that's good. Okay, there's definitely some potential, I think. And we're going to kind of have to finesse things. We need to maybe pull some of the character into the atmosphere. Like it's right now they feel like they're just a sticker placed on the background, which I'm sure you guys have experienced that situation before, right? Like it feels like they're disconnected. So we got to do some work to integrate the two. This is just the reality of painting the character first and then bringing the background in, is that the two are not going to immediately feel synchronized. Just fine. You just got to be aware that that's a step that's needed to get it to work. And right now I'm playing with the sense of how much that light is hitting the front of the forms. Like how far are we going to pull it into this here? And I feel like that's probably good. We'll really know when we get to the main pumpkin head. I got to go in and, of course, hit it on all these. Maybe we should just be doing a little heavier. Usually I use this fully opaque kind of inky brush here to put the rim light in because it gets me being a little bit more bold about my choices and I think it typically turns out a little better. Key is to make sure that your rim light is talked about this on the channel many times, but don't have your rim light be an outline on everything. It has to react with the forms, right? It has to fall off naturally. And it's going to hit some things more than other things. And as things kind of twist and turn and turn toward the light and turn away from the light, it's going to create variance. So we need to have that present. So now here we're going to kind of see, well, how much does that come into the form here? And now what you'll notice is that it's all pretty white, but then as I smudge it around, we get some of that blue, which is exactly what that outer glow layer is doing for us. Just kind of wrapping that around the form there. It's just cool how volumetric that looks, right? Like it really feels like a weird pumpkin floating. This is what's kind of fun about doing like more realistic rendering. Is that you can have surrealistic ideas uh, that are very immersive, right? Like you can do something that's unexpected and strange, but the rendering kind of pulls you in. I mean, it's just like the idea of why contrast works so well, right? Like something that's it's cute, but it's also dangerous, or it's scary, but it's also funny. Here, it's like, well, it's nonsensical, but it also looks very real. It's like that's an interesting contrast to play with. There's an artist that I think a lot of you probably know, Peter Morbacher, who is uh, exceptionally good at rendering. I think that'd be an understatement. But he plays around with all kinds of really surrealistic ideas in his paintings, like weird anatomy and weird kind of floating objects and abstract. Um, Contortions to shapes and forms and he uses his rendering skills to help us buy into all of that craziness. Some yeah as your subject matter gets more demanding, it just puts a lot more pressure on you to support it with the right skills. When you're starting out as an artist, your imagination is much more leveled up than your technical ability. So you have this awkward mismatch of oh, I have this idea that it's going to be this scene of like 10 dragons fighting these like knights wielding glowing swords and whatever. And then it's like, well, your technical skill is you can draw a stick figure. So, you learn to dial it back. You start working on your technical skill, right? And so your imagination and your technical skill hopefully at some point meet in the middle, and that's where you hopefully experience some better luck and you feel a little more satisfied with what you're doing. It's like, okay, well, it's not 20 dragons fighting 20 knights, it's a dragon fighting a knight, and I've been studying art for a few years. Okay, now we're talking, right? But I see, yeah, a lot of newer artists that they have some really really cool ideas, but they don't necessarily realize the challenges of the choices they're making, the narrative choices, the style choices. Hey Patrick, how's it going, man? We're putting some rim lights in on these pumpkins here, which I feel like is definitely, it's funny because I think it's kind of season appropriate. I didn't think this painting would take this long, but we'll just pretend like I took this long so that it would feel seasonally appropriate. We'll go with that. It's not quite autumn here yet, but it's getting real close. Or wait, is it? Let's see, what's the date? 18th? Isn't it the 20 something or whatever? It's coming up real quick here. So we'll just say, yeah, it's all intentional. Now I want to go over to this skull here and make him all rim lighty, but I'm weird and I like to be systematic and go one kind of section at a time. So we're going to stick to these plants for the moment. I'm also deciding how wide I want this rim light to be. I guess it's got to be pretty wide for it to hit where I want over here as well. Okay, well, as with all stuff in art, some things are more obvious to you at first, and then you've got to block those in, and then the other stuff hopefully starts to make sense. I do not currently have any Halloween themed drawings planned, but that is definitely a good idea. I think that would be like a pro move to be seasonally appropriate. I think we could plan something. Um, yeah, that's a good call. I'm gonna have that on my list of things to start to brainstorm. Maybe we could do like I was gonna say a headless horseman, but then I realized that would be asking me to do a horse on stream, and I don't want to horrify people with my lack of horse anatomy knowledge. But maybe we could get Gwen on here as a guest to give us some horse anatomy tips. She's the first person I think of when I think of horse anatomy. But yes, Halloween themed art. We definitely could do that. I mean, I'm definitely capable of making some spooky stuff. So I think that sounds like a good call. Values are feeling pretty good there. Kind of curious what we're going to do with the leaves. It's interesting because the leaves are kind of flatter. Also, wow, color violation. Hello. Where is the leaf layer? Leaf layer. Leaves? Okay. Well, that just got weird. I think we meant to have that be the pumpkin area. Well, whatever. We'll do a little bit of cleanup later. This is what happens, right? You get in here and start rendering these little details, and then you notice funky stuff. Oh, or we could just cover it with a little bit of rim light. Hell yeah. Okay, so here's the first time trying to do a little bit on the leaves here. Not quite sure. It's a part of me that well, okay, we'll just keep going. We'll keep going and see what happens. Hmm. This guy seems like he's going to be getting hit a lot more than the other ones because he's kind of facing the back there. But it's also leaves that don't feel quite as reflective as the pumpkin. So, yeah. I think when the light gets hot enough, the material starts to matter a little less. So there is that on our side. Turning the Disney Princess Squad into a Halloween squad. Oh boy. Yeah, no pressure there. Just take everybody's most cherished, beloved characters and turn them into hideous monsters. Definitely, no pressure. I like it though. That's a crazy idea. It's fun. Okay, kind of finessing this rim light here. This might be a situation where we've got to just go. We just got to go a little crazier with it. Like maybe we just see what too far means on this part. Because I mean, this is kind of the main deal right here. This is the dude's main gourd. So yeah, I kind of want to see what too far means on this part, and then we can dial it back if we need to. Yeah, see, it's weird, right? Because like when you zoom out, it's like I don't know that doesn't necessarily feel too much. It feels like it might be just enough. We gotta give it some finesse. Like we're really careful about it. Let's see, check our value. See, that's looking cool. That's looking interesting. Oh yeah, Patrick, exactly. Push further and then turn it down, because otherwise you'll be chasing an unknown endpoint for eternity. And then the question is, okay, so we've got the light coming in. Is it gonna hit the front here at all? Like, do we get, or is this like, is his stem kind of like obstructing? I guess let's just see what happens. I guess we can kind of just get in here and see if this looks. I think we got to make sure it stays kind of to the top though, right? Like, gonna kind of fall off pretty quick up in front here. Oh, that's pretty nice. I kind of like that. I kind of like it. I think we roll with that, guys. I think that's looking. I give it like a 7 out of 10 on the spooky scale, and then we'll put in a little bit here. I mean, this is like we're kind of at the fun part of the render now, where it's like all this hard work in designing and laying out our file and being restrained about our values and everything. Now it's paying off, right? Hold on one second. Something fell. I had to pick it up. Good. Um, yeah, and the other thing too is that we've got control of the amount of ambience on our character from the front, right? Like I can pull this value down if we want to make that rim light feel even more significant, right? I can pull that front light down. I mean, look, if we did this, look at that. Oh, extra spooky. But I don't know that we want to lose him that much, but it's nice that we've got control over it, right? And maybe we want to have a little bit darker in the front, so that way we get the rim light a little more impactful, and then maybe the glow from the jack o' lantern on the inside will also be more impactful. So I'm kind of digging maybe a little bit darker front there. The robe, the stitched part. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, that idea came to me very late in the process. Like we had this big sort of blank area, and I kind of had to see it a little bit rendered first before I had the idea of putting something in there. And I was like, yeah, it's just an opportunity to have some fun with some kind of pattern, but I don't want it to be too loud. So I think the kind of stitch panels and stuff had a nice little blend to it, but that's cool that it's working for you. I like hearing that. And now that we've got more of that rim light on the pumpkin, I think it's giving me confidence to just kind of blast it a little bit more on these back leaves here. Maybe we bring it in a little bit more here. It's kind of cool because we get like a lost edge here almost, right? Or like a lost form as this root gets blocked from the rim light by the pumpkin obstructing it, and then it kind of catches the light here. Like this idea of things that sort of feel almost flat and formless that then become incredibly dimensional. Like that's another aspect of contrast, like I was talking about earlier, that is really cool to play with. And fine artists will know this stuff really well, right? Like the idea of like lost edges and things like that. Good illustrators always know to mess with things like that. And there are things that are harder to do when you're working in a very layered digital process, which is why it's again important to give yourself a chance at the end of a layered piece to merge it together and just have some nice impulsive layer free mark making at the end. Okay, yeah, that's I'm looking at it over on my other screen. So that's another thing too, is check your work on multiple screens. My screen to the left is a little higher contrast, a little more saturated than my main monitor. Um, and then my phone is kind of weird. My phone is like, I don't know. My phone, I don't like, my images tend to look weird on my phone, and I that concerns me. But I'm not sure how much that should be trusted. I know phone screens are good screens, but I think they're also like overtuned. Like you have those kind of like high vibrance settings and stuff going on, and I have a feeling that I should be trusting the phone screen a little bit less. But the unfortunate reality is that a lot of content is viewed on the phone these days. Like, especially if you're going to post something like Instagram. Well, I mean, how many people browse Instagram on their desktop computer, right? Like, that's silliness. So you do want to look at it, but at the same time, again, just check it in multiple places. That's the answer. This guy's expression is still just cracks me up. Like, what? This guy's really angry about something. What happened to you? Do you need a hug or like a Snickers bar, a mini Snickers bar? You check your workout on multiple screens, Pat? You're you're browsing Instagram on desktop. Hey man, that's all good. It's totally, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just it's the less frequent use case for Instagram. Do you Here's a question for you. Can you post to Instagram on desktop? That one I haven't figured out yet. I'm always having to like push stuff over to my phone and upload it from my phone. Oh, this is going to be really interesting. This guy's face is like pointed toward the rim light. It'll be kind of a fun challenge. Let's see if I can make this work. Look at his jaw. What's that one B movie? It's like a famous B movie. It's like Ninja Cops or something like that. And there's an actor in there who has like mega jaw. Like he's just like got the craziest jaw. I don't know his name, but I see this pumpkin and I think of that guy. Yeah, maybe you could at some point, and then, well, whatever is the case, I'm out of the loop. So just continue to use my phone for that. Is this? I guess that, yeah, that's probably fine. Just go with kind of the top edge hitting the light there. I really like how freaking weird that looks. Like that super weird floaty pumpkin thing there just looks really bizarre. I like it. I like weird, bizarre stuff, but I'm often not. I don't push it far enough in my paintings. I'm a little too vanilla with stuff. I think because I just there's always this pressure to like make stuff look convincing to some degree, and it's like the more, again, like I said earlier, the more far out the idea is, the more pressure there is on you to sell it. Um, an interesting kind of related topic is, like, well, okay, I have to careful how I approach this. So we'll just call it adult art. We'll say art that is intended for adult audiences. You see it online everywhere, but uh, a lot of it's really uh cheesy, right? Like if we're talking about it from like, just, we'll try to be adults here for a moment. Like if we just look at it from an artistic standpoint, a lot of it's just like really crappy art, right? Like um and and sometimes you'll see stuff on ArtStation that is like pretty provocative, right? Like but the skill level is like insanely high, and it just sort of like it comes across totally differently, right? Which is again, it's like if you're trying to sell an emotion or an idea, that the more kind of extreme the idea or emotion is, the more it's resting on your skills to kind of sell it, to make it work. And when it comes to like some of that adult subject matter, oh man, it's just like fraught with just people with zero skill and just wanting to see something a little raunchy. Okay. I feel like we're definitely starting to get a sense for what's happening there. Now, the funny thing is, we could just double up on the rim light and we could go really extreme with it, right? Like, whoa, now it's really smacking us in the face, which maybe we do that. I don't know. And we could also turn down the brightness of the ground here if we want. Like maybe we go a little darker like that. Yeah. I think there wants to be like the clouds down here are not helping because they're making it seem like there's no ground plane. Like the weird sort of texture there. makes it feel like it's like he's not standing on anything. So I'm gonna just kind of blur out the cloudy textures there and make it simpler. And it's subtle, but now it feels like this is like a ground plane, and then this is smoke back here, which I think helps. Um, I was just talking to a student earlier today about trying to kind of put a little more work into the backgrounds of my character images, and you know, I, I don't think we're going to do that on this one, just because I sort of never envisioned this as a character with a elaborate background. But future things on the channel, we might experiment with integrating a little bit more environment work into the piece, which I think could be fun. Typically, I don't like to do something completely new to me on the stream, because I don't want to be bumbling around too much. People kind of like to just watch things sort of flow at a reasonable pace, and without too much sort of meandering. So, but if I get to a place with it where I feel like I have some kind of decent flow, I don't need to be a master at it or anything. But if I just feel like I have at least some base level, then I think we could definitely maybe try some of that stuff on the stream a little bit, which would be fun. Oh, thanks, Patrick. Man, I appreciate that. I try to get some time into to post things on socials. It's man, is it so hard to kind of put everything on my schedule and get everything done. But we're trying. We're trying to keep the gears turning. We've got there's like quite a bit of momentum on side projects happening, which you guys know better than most. And so there's that stuff going on, and then I've got um a third super ultra top secret one that's going on, that basically only like two people know about that, three people know about that. Um, which that's eating up a little bit of time as well. Then I'm doing streaming. Then I'm doing YouTube short form videos. Then I'm posting personal art on Instagram and in ArtStation. And then I have my full time job at the school. So only that stuff, not a lot. But I'm working on actually some cool stuff for the school right now, which is some new life drawing content for the beginner class. So I think the folks teaching that class will probably have some, well, they'll be delighted to see just some new content to look at. And I think students will also hopefully enjoy some of the some of the new stuff as well. Man, I really love that light hitting that front corner of that edge there. That just makes me happy. It's so nice when like the apex of the form that you want to come forward also happens to be pointing at the light in just the right way. Like, boy, only that could always be the case. I just turned on my desk fan over here. You guys let me know if you can hear any annoying fan noises, because if you can, I'll turn it off. But I think my mic's good enough to block that out. Okay, thanks, Patrick. That's awesome to hear. Okay. Well, I think we maybe need a little bit of rim light hitting this guy. Not that section though. And maybe we get this guy with a little bit here. Yeah, I think that the slightly cool rim light is working okay against all these warm tones we have in the character. I think that's a nice little offset there. The angle of this back edge here is really, really tricky because it sort of ends up feeling just like an outline. So I'm trying to be a little careful about modulating it so it's a little more interesting. But I think we're up against the wall with this particular angle here. Oh, that probably doesn't get hit. That probably doesn't. This probably doesn't get hit either. But I'm just going to leave a little hint. I mean, we can fudge things just a little bit. Like, the viewers don't have like scientific measuring devices to check us, but their eyeballs are pretty good at checking on their own. It's like perspective, right? Like uh, people can't draw good perspective, but boy, can they tell when it looks wrong. Our eyeballs are adapted to that math over an entire lifetime. I think what happens is I'm painting in Photoshop, and then my computer heats up, and then my room heats up. Okay, I think we need a little more rim light on this guy. All right, we got to get these little root guys. Is this leaf getting a little bit? Well, maybe we can sneak a little bit in there. Feels kind of like it's getting some light from underneath this top one. Getting some of that depth to read. Go a little bit here. And then let's go a little bit here. I'm feeling very Bob Ross right now, putting highlights on roots. Okay, so yeah, we could end up doubling up, but I think we're gonna lose a little sensitivity if we just double it. So we might do a little bit of like bloom as another layer on some of the hottest areas just to really sell the effect. Um, but I think as a baseline, I think this is working okay. Um, so now I'm kind of just thinking about what other areas we're gonna get hit with this. So we want to get this hourglass hit for sure. Actually, we can probably just have this whole edge get hit with it, right? It's also metal, so a great opportunity to just have it be bright, although it's a little further from the rim light. Um, We're having this challenge of distance to consider here. Okay. Oh, and then the glass is not in this mask. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to add. It's kind of a little bit of an issue with the layering here, but it's not a big deal. Okay. Well, yeah, I think we just leave it there. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about yeah, like does it come through and hit like his hand, for example? Like, do we get it all the way up here? I don't know. Let's put it in and see what happens. Ooh, yeah, okay. Think that looks right. So we're going there. Now it's probably right that we taper it off as it gets up here toward the upper arm because the body kind of blocking the light. But I think it definitely is great having it come through and hit this hand here, and we can even get it kind of hitting a little bit of that fun little tendony area. Does this get hit with the rim light a little bit here? Oh, maybe, maybe. Okay. Feels maybe a little forced. Let's pull it back a little bit. Okay. All right. I think we can get away with that. Now this hourglass. Let's get some on this guy. And a little bit here. A little bit on this guy here. And I guess maybe as a little hitting this root. A little hitting back here. See little hints of light. That's fun, right? Turning it on and off, seeing it. It's like we're a photographer and we invited our pumpkin headed friend over to the studio for a few photos. Oh, we might be pushing it a little bit with that. Think I think we have to limit the rim light to back there. Yeah, I think this one here just feels like it's too much in front of the character. We got this guy back here. We can't forget about this guy. Sometimes you flip back and forth to the starting work in progress and the final makes me feel good sometimes. Yeah, man, you gotta give yourself those little wins so you can keep the momentum going. Every good piece is filled with a little bit of doubt, right? I it's probably not good, but I seem to be really bad at judging what pieces will be reacted to well or not. Like I'll finish something and I'll think, well, I guess I'll just post it anyway. It was a good try, and then it like does better than like any of the images I posted recently, and it's like, what is going on? I don't understand. So I don't know. That again, I think it'd be better if I just was able to judge that more accurately, but apparently I can't. So we're working on that. We'll figure it out. Okay. Uh, so then do we get? I'm just kind of thinking about other places where it would make sense to have that light hitting. I guess we can double it up just to see more clearly where. Like, I'm kind of looking like at the back of the cloak here. Does that feel like that's a little bit in need of something? Does it get hit? It's like hard to say if it would hit in a way that we would see, I think, on this stuff here, at least the way that I am kind of reading this light. So yeah, let's leave it there and let's put the rim light in on the glass because we couldn't do that on that layer because it had a mask on it. So we got to get in here now and do this a little bit on its own. And I kind of already had a bright reflection on this here, so that was already kind of working, but I can kind of just hit that a little harder. And down here as well. Maybe bring that in a little bit more. Okay, cool. Now the reflections on this, I think they feel a little strong, but it also this thing it just needs to read in front of him. So I'm sort of taking a little artistic liberty there with that. I'm noticing that the ground shadow is a little bit weird still. Let's see. Round brush, soft. There we go. Right there. That was feeling like that was not connected to the ground. I guess when we brightened the ground, that kind of caused a little bit of an issue. And I sort of wonder, like, do we need to probably be putting in some more shadow underneath this stuff too, huh? Yep. That's definitely needed. It's feeling all floaty. I like how your piece turned out, Jess. The creme brulee monster. That was cool. I think in particular I liked the way you darkened the main sugar piece to help it stand off. I thought that was a super smart choice. And I liked the revision to the flying dragon as well. I thought that was cool. What is that nonsense there. Is that is from the shadow, isn't it? That's just feeling weird. Let's dither that out. Okay, so there's that. Um, I do think we'll double up on the rim light just a little bit. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go right about there with it. Yep. And then let's give it that big punch, which will be. I guess we can go with a hard light, and let's make sure our transparency is off there. Okay. Okay, we're giving a little bit of bloom essentially is what we're doing here, just to kind of punch that up super hot. I want your eye to go right to that spot. Okay. Now, I think it's time to start playing with some of the kind of glowing elements. Those are really the final things we want to be doing on this piece. And there wants to be a little bit of magic smoke in the hourglasses. I think that'll be fun. So let's go ahead and make a layer for that. So I'll first of all name the one we just made, which is the bloom layer. And now this one is going to be hourglass smoke. And I have no idea what what the treatment is going to be on this. So we're going to have some experimentation going on here. Because I also don't know the color that this wants to be. I suspect that I want it to be cooler, so that we can still have the warm light coming from the jack o' lantern here, the main head, and get your eye drawn to that. But we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and just do some white smoke. And we'll give it an outer glow to give it some of that tint. Let's diffuse it out, opacity up, and hue. I'm thinking more cyan, something like that. And then we'll turn the color down. So, yeah, one of the things I guess we can talk about here is how to integrate magical effects into something that is intended to feel fairly realistic. It's definitely not. There's some nuance to that, right? Like if you think about the difference between, um, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Harry Potter, the magic is a lot louder, right? It's more fantastical, and it has a different tone. Whereas Lord of the Rings is trying to be very grounded. Um, like when someone quote unquote casts a spell in Lord of the Rings, you don't see like glowing magic shoot out of their hands. You see like a glint of light, or you see like the earth move, or you see like the water ripple, or you see a very grounded way to present that. So when you bring in magic into something that you want to feel very immersive, you've got to be careful about it, right? Because you can easily make the piece feel way more cartoony just with that implementation. So I'm trying to be sensitive to that here, to where it feels like, it's a little bit more grounded. It brings a little spice to it. We get a little hint of that kind of magic and mystery, but it's not. Yeah, it's not like shooting laser beams everywhere. So just some kind of like things to consider as you're bringing in those kinds of elements in your work. Now I'm looking at the color and I'm thinking it probably wants to be more true blue to kind of go match with our rim light color. So maybe we do something like that, and then okay, go a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And I'll maybe play around with like how that looks uh, more specifically in a moment here, but I'm gonna try to just give a little bit of a starting point for this. I'm just thinking about like a sort of a little mini tornado living inside of these things, swirling around. Um, Got to make sure we're not putting it over the. Maybe I'll put it a little more concentrated here. I probably could have masked off the. Let's do that. Actually, I think I have those hourglasses on their own layer. Hourglasses. Ooh, okay. Never mind. That mask is super gross. Okay. No worries. We can still make this work just fine. I'll just have to erase a little bit. Um, I've I've had to do spell effects many times for different games and IPs and stuff like that, and you never can like leave them, or you can never, even though they're like a finishing touch, they can never be done haphazardly. Like, you do it quick and you don't put enough time into it, and it just ruins the whole picture, right? Like, it just looks like it was thrown in. You can really tell when someone doesn't put enough time into the effects of an image. I mean, you got to think about, there are people whose entire job it is to make effects look good. And here you are as an illustrator, just kind of like potentially half-assing the effects part. Um, should have the same kind of care that we had in like painting the flesh of the pumpkin, right? So yeah, this seems like it's going okay. I'm kind of digging this. I'm trying to get a little bit of that sort of spiral quality out of it. Here we're leaning heavily on some brushes to get this nice texture in. But you'll notice though, like, we're being really subtle, and yet when we zoom out, it's like, man, this is pretty loud. Sometimes a little bit goes a long way with this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to be sensitive to that. And if you guys remember from our, this is quite a while ago now, the first episode of this character on the stream where we did the little story time, we talked about the episode where he shows up. His whole kind of deal is that he like causes time to slow down so that way it's like forever Halloween, basically. I mean, that's the name of the episode, right? When Halloween was forever. So that was what gave us the whole idea about these hourglasses. So in me, I guess that doesn't need to get erased, does it? It's behind. In me putting a little bit of like magic in these. It's kind of nice because I feel like we're coming full circle to that original idea. It's like, okay, he's using his powers to change time, to alter time and slow it down. And now we're kind of seeing some of that manifest. Now, if you were painting effects for like a Hearthstone card, this would be entirely the wrong approach. This is way too much granularity and detail for Hearthstone magic. That you'd want to do like a very kind of hand drawn feel, right? Um, a lot of color gradients and things like that. I used gradient maps when I was doing some Hearthstone stuff, and it seemed to work pretty well. Okay, so now this is the point where we can play with the glow color and just see exactly what we think is working. So I actually like it a little more green, seeing them all now together. Yeah, I really like that cyan against that orange and that yellow there. I think that feels like a really fun color complement. And then of course the rim light has a cooler tone, but it's a different cooler tone, and I actually like them to be a little separated like that. Um, I'm not sure. I did think about the idea of a little bit of magic on the side here, and there's these like floating pieces that are sort of bizarre. So I think we still want to experiment with that. Um, Maybe that's what we do next. This might be a situation where this goes a step too far. Um, I don't know yet until we see it. Lord of the Rings is greater than Harry Potter. Hey man, there's you getting some fights over that stuff. There's some pretty passionate people out there. Okay, let's see if I can. Again, this is all experimental because I don't want to draw your eye too much to this blade here. That's the other thing. So this might just be, well, I mean we can control the opacity of this, right? So, and I'm doing kind of a spiral right now, and I don't know if that's the right approach either. It could just be that it wants like a little, I feel like that's drawing too much attention, right? This is too loud. Um, Again, sort of being aware of the tone that you're setting, and you know, this is maybe about as far as I want to go in terms of the loudness. So, but maybe okay, let's see. Where's the scythe blade? Okay, let's try this. We'll do a little bit of a different approach here. Do a little bit of a glowing end. Just a little hint. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Let me do this. I like it toward the end there, but I don't want it to be as much up on top here. So let's do this. Okay. So there's like a little hint of magic on the ends. And could it be that maybe now we're getting real crazy here. Is it that maybe there's like a little bit of weird, like, I don't know, like sort of like dripping magic or something? I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm queuing off of here, but maybe there's something kind of wispy about this end, or maybe it's more like it's smoking, like it has some ethereal smoke going on. Oh, that's too. You know, you can also sort of direct your flow through the composition with this kind of stuff, right? So that's another thing to be aware of. Maybe it's just okay. Maybe we don't need any extras. Maybe we just need this. But does that draw your eye away too much. Maybe we got to turn it down a little bit. Maybe we got to go a little more subtle with it. Yeah, maybe we do that. And when we bring the jack-o'-lantern glow in here, this may not feel like it needs to be as subtle. Like it might be able to contend with this area a little easier. But right now, it's winning the war, so we've got to be a little more gentle about it. Definitely want to add some texture to the ground. It's all a little too unconsidered looking right now. And then yeah, we got to bring in. Okay, we got some things to do, but I feel like we're actually looking pretty good in terms of our progress so far. I feel like we're definitely going to be able to wrap things up this stream, and I'm glad we didn't rush through this because yeah, I think we were able to accomplish some neat ideas here. So is it time for the jack-o'-lantern glow? Let's just do it, guys. Let's just put it in there. Talk about like a final moment, right? Like, geez. I think what we want to do is we want to go a little bit more like bright yellow, and then we want to do like an orange outer glow, a deep orange, and opacity is probably going to be turned down. I don't know about size here, but we'll have to just put a little bit in to see. Um, oh, got a little sneak peek there. Hold your horses, everybody. It's getting there. It's getting there. I got to put this down in the shadows, though. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we can tune this opacity here. Oh yeah. Okay, now it's getting exciting. It's like have you guys seen District 9? Anybody know that movie? And maybe I'll try to think of another example that people know better. Well, I guess the movie Aliens, right? It's like all of this lead up to the moment when Ripley fights the alien queen. Oh, spoilers. I always assume everybody's seen that movie, and surprisingly, some people have not. Um, it's all leading up to when she fights the alien queen in the loader suit, right? Like that. That's the payoff. And for this image, like the glow from the jack o' lantern head is our Ripley versus the alien queen moment. It's like we were like reserved and careful this whole time, all so that we can get the payoff of the glow from the pumpkin. Um, yay glows! Yeah, man. I know. I love them. I'm a sucker for glows. It's cool to follow your process, how step by step you work. So nice to see when everything comes together. Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's I didn't always used to be this organized. I'll just say that. This is a long time of trying things. But I don't stop experimenting either. Like, we find places to do it, but it's sort of it's experiments that still fit within our overall goals. So now here I'm kind of playing with getting some light from in here. And yeah, there's definitely some interesting things that we could be doing here. I guess we get a little glow from the nose hole here. It's a classic jack-o'-lantern moment there. I got to think about where that light is most intense. There's a piece that I favorited on ArtStation that was this like it was kind of stylized. It was this super ripped girl on her knees, like I think like maybe she was like doing a workout or like post workout. I don't know. I think she had like gym clothes on or something. But she was like just super jacked, and she had her head down, and she had like steam like pouring out of her mouth coming up the sides of her head. It's such a cool picture, and I was like, man, he just went for it, like she's some kind of like fire breathing dragon, like yeah, I don't know. It's just I thought it was really sweet. Um, and so I guess the other thing to consider with stuff like this is, are you is there enough payoff? Like you walk people through this image, and if this is our moment to like sell the coolness of it all, like do we give people enough of it, right? Like does it feel like we're being cheap or stingy with it? It's a tricky balance. Like these beams of light are probably too much, but I had to try it to know. And I am liking maybe a little bit of light from like in these weird little gaps. Like that's pretty fun. I don't know that it wants to be that bright. But I don't know. I'm not against it either. So notice now that the glow on the end of the site does not feel nearly as distracting now that we've got orange stuff coming out of this guy's head, right? So we got to always kind of think about that balancing act going on. Okay, just trying to kind of like carefully walk my way in on this glow here. And I think the other pumpkins, they don't want to be lit up because they're not the main head. I think it's just too much, but it's very easy for us to try it and just see if it's too loud or not, right? So maybe it's just awesome and we just do it. My instinct is that it's too much, but if it's easy to try, then we might as well give it a shot. I don't know. I'm not hating that. I'm not hating that as much as I thought I would. But how does it look if we put it everywhere? Because it's going to be weird if it's just on like a couple of these guys. Like I think we got to go all the way with it. And in that case, it might just be too much. Let's find out. I mean, at least these things are all around the focal point. They're all where we want people to be looking. So I guess there's that on our side. Oh, he's got such a tiny nose. Why is your nose so tiny? We should probably ask the artist why their nose is so tiny. I got to say, I think it's actually working because they're so small, right? Like the light is so small that it ends up just being kind of like a fun little accent drawing your eyes in. All right. We're just going for it, guys. We're going there. We're doing it. And then if anybody doesn't like it, we'll say that it's Patrick's fault. He's the one that made us do it. I'm just kidding. Patrick's like, leave me out of this. What are you doing? Yeah, I like that guy's face. That guy looks, yeah. This guy here cracks me up though, man. Look at this guy. What are you doing up here? What are you thinking about? I may put like a little blood splatter or something on this area down here just to kind of break your eye up a little bit from that. Also, the specularity on the leather feels a little much. I think now that we turn down the what am I doing here? Erase soft. When we turn down the frontal lighting, I think this ended up just feeling a little bit too specular. So we'll just turn this down a little bit. But I like it on the vest here. I just thought that was a little too bright. This will be a fun Instagram post because I think I could probably show a close up of like some of the pumpkins up here. People might get a kick out of that. Okay, I got to go back to this situation. Which, oh boy, I forget what yellow I was. Oh no, we're still on it. Good, we didn't change colors. For some reason, I thought we switched, but I was just erasing stuff. This guy's got a little heart shaped nose. Yeah, yeah. The many emotions of the artists as seen in pumpkins. Actually, that would be pretty funny if I like clipped to each of the pumpkins and gave them a quote like of what I was thinking. That's actually a pretty funny idea. Um, I might just do that. That's really hilarious. Okay, I'll have to think about what each of them might be saying though. So like, um, we're having fun and everything, but notice though that I'm still sort of thinking about like, well, where's the light coming from, right? Like, it's not just throwing in arbitrary glows. It's like we're still trying to kind of get a sense of that direction of the light coming from inside. We could even do like a GIF, right, where they're like flickering or something would be pretty freaking fun. Um, there's a guy on. You guys know my channel intro graphic, the angel girl, right? Which is painting I did a few years back, but I found a guy on Fiverr who's just awesome. Like, you give him stuff in layers and he gives it all subtle motion like a splash art. And I'd be kind of curious what he would do with this piece because you've got the pumpkins, right? They can all kind of like move and bob a little bit. It's always fun to imagine little pieces of your image moving around. All right. Save your work, everybody. Don't forget to save. I am going to tweak the color of the hourglasses because they're feeling too green. Oh, the flip flopping, classic. Which I guess means changing the color of the scythe glow as well. But I'm not going to do anything significant. I'm just going to do a little hue shift to be slightly less cyan. Yep. Yep. There we go. Okay. And then this guy here, we shift as well. Yeah, I think that fits the overall palette a little bit better. Control S. Yes, exactly. Oh, I like your animated emoji guy there. That's awesome. Isn't there something where like if I get 8.5 billion viewers, then I get like a free emoji or something on Twitch? I feel like there's something there. Um oh, let's see. Okay, yeah, so the splatter on the let's see. Reference textures splatters. Yeah, I have a whole folder here full of splattery stuff, so I feel like we could probably find something cool in here. Eh, okay, let's try that one and that one and that one. Okay. I'll tell you, I have had these splatters for an eternity. This is again where like, the more you do this stuff professionally, the bigger your library of stuff builds and more robust it gets. I use these when working on textures for Hunted the Demon's Forge on PS3, like an eternity ago. And they still work great. That's what I love about them. So let's put those in here and let's bring these in and throw them on multiply. And so we're going to kind of make it look like he spilled his grape juice. The key to more realistic blood is to make it look not bright red, right? Like that is an immediate giveaway that it's not real. We want to kind of go more dried blood. I also think I don't want it to be that dark. Okay, yeah, we could do something like that, and then I'm gonna maybe smear it a little bit so it feels like he's brushed up against some stuff. I mean, a ballistic expert will definitely come in here and uh, heckle me about the realism of this directionality, but I don't care. Okay, we're just trying to go for a little bit of fun texture there, break up our eye a little bit. That might be enough. I don't know that we need a whole lot. I just want a little hit of something there. Legacy textures, they do actually, yeah. Who is that? Whose emojis are those? They're super cute. Man, I love those. Super fun. Right. So yeah, some kind of like ground texture thing going on. We need something down there. It's just again, it's feeling too clean. This guy should not be in a super clean situation. So let's try some grunge brushes. And it may be that I'm gonna like finesse this stuff a little bit. Maybe we'll try a few different brushes. We might be in a situation where we can just merge the background together because I think we kind of know what's going on at this point. So I think I'm okay just kind of winging it now. It just has to feel considered, you know? Oh, and actually, so I wanted to actually play with maybe. Oh, we did a little bit of a blue tint to this, didn't we? It feels like it might already be a little bit blue, but maybe we can go a little harder with the blue. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yep. I like a little heavier blue on that, so we'll go with that. All right, we go. Do we go a little brighter with this back here? This is probably another one where I want to. Oh man, that's really tricky, isn't it? I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want it anywhere in the front here. And I don't think you'd want to do it as just a soft light. You'd want to do it as like a cloudy brush. I was just kind of thinking, do we go a little heavier in a couple spots here? That might be a little heavy. Okay, I do like a little bit there, and then maybe we just go a little bit blue with the whole scene. Maybe a little cyan. Yeah, there we go. Kind of fit the ambient colors there. Now we need to make sure that he fits into the environment. So I'm going to go ahead and put a color balance on the flats so that I can maybe shift them to be a little bit blue as well. Yeah, see now he kind of fits like that color scheme. You can kind of see before and after, right? I mean this just kind of shows you how number one, you have to think about if the character fits in the environment you're creating. But number two, if you organize yourself, you can control the tonality pretty easily. Now we're going to do the scariest thing of all. We're going to merge it all together and we're going to just do any last minute touches on the flattened version. And to do this, I am going to first get myself a little bit more organized here on my layers because I like to preserve this version as version 01 because you never know what happens when you merge it together if there's going to be some weird, yeah, see, we're getting some weird haloing. You see that around the edges there? I was afraid that was going to happen. Also, we're getting, let's see. So the way we need to fix this is I need to take the mask. We're going to merge this. And then I'm going to put the mask back on it. So now, aside from the transparent parts, turning this on doesn't change anything. And now we can merge this into the mask. I know you guys can't see my layer stack, but now we have a flattened version that is actually flat. Subtle dust particles, that's a great idea. Yeah, that could be cool, man. I mean, it's very atmospheric, right? We got a lot of fog and stuff going on. I feel like that definitely makes sense. So I love that idea. I love that idea for you. No, I like it. I'm just gonna try to kind of put this. Oh wait, we lost. Uh-oh, we lost the reflections on the glass. I just noticed that. Let's see, where is that layer? Oh, is it this one? Let's see if we can get this back. Nope. Damn. Okay, hold on. Hold everything. Hold everything. Let's bring number one back. Do we need to? Maybe we don't need to flatten it. No, we do need to flatten. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flatten it like for real flatten. I'm going to flatten the character and the background together. That's an easy way to do this. I'm going to do a few things first. If we're going to have to go that way for an ease of working on this piece, then I need to do a few things first here. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking some of the background colors and I'm just pushing some of this stuff a little further back so that way it fits in the scene's atmosphere a little better. Also, we got to liquefy that hourglass. That hourglass perspective got a little weird on us, but no worries there. I'm going to kind of take this stuff, put this into the fog back here. I think we can get a little bit of this cloak. Let's do this. Miss crawling around the sides there. Um, dust particles. Yeah, that's cool. I think I've even got a brush for that. So if I go in here under grunge, I've got something called speckles. This might be okay. Let's see. How do I want to do this? I think we do a little smaller brush and we just kind of dot it here and there. And then we maybe duplicate this a little bit, duplicate it around. And then we can do a couple little other little hits. And don't worry, guys, this is not what it's going to actually look like. We're just kind of putting in the first pass of this. Okay, so we're going to move this over here. Let's actually turn it around so you can't see any weird patterning going on, even though you kind of still can. Just don't tell anybody. One more, one more. Okay, there's that. Now we erase as a gradient as it gets away from the light at the top there. So the light is illuminating the particles. Obviously, we wouldn't see any of it there. Then we do, whoops, now we do a little bit of a lens blur, lens blur. Oh, come on. That's terrible. Let's just Gaussian blur it. I forgot that lens blur is like requires that weird preview nonsense. It's annoying. Okay. So we'll blur that and then we'll just bring in a little hint of it there. And now we'll do a new layer connected to it on color dodge. And go in with white. And actually, is this not going to let me do what I want it to do? Let's see. Okay, let's do this instead. Let's do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I merged one too many times. Okay, there we go. Now we'll put a mask on this one. Invert that. And now we'll selectively reveal it as a gradient from the top here. So just get a little more hint of it right in the center column of the light. Okay, and there you get a little dust particle thing going on. Love that idea, Patrick. Kudos on that. Um, it's a little unfortunate that we lose his hand here. Like that's just something where I feel like yeah, just I mean, we could maybe justify the rim light coming down and hitting this hand. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? I wonder if we just try that. Okay. It's easy to try. So why not try it? And I'm going to grab the outer glow from the rim light we had before so that I'm matching the color here. So paste the layer style onto this new rim light. And here we go in. So again, it's like a little hard to think about how this might hit. We're sort of just taking some artistic liberty here to show maybe that rim light coming through and hitting some of the stuff standing in front. This may be too distracting, or it may be really great. And I hate that there's such a extreme difference between our options there. Also, I kind of effed that up. There's some smoke in front of the hourglass there. Okay, I'll fix that. Everything's fine. Everything's perfect. Everything's amazing. Okay, I'm trying to manage this light on this hand ever so carefully. I mean, like, even if there's a little bit of light hitting the hand, I think it still is an improvement. Like, you still are seeing the hand better than you were before. So that's good. Let me see. Okay, is it a situation where we get maybe this part of the thumb also reacting to the light? Oof. Now we're really getting into the danger zone with this stuff. But I don't hate it. I think it's working better than I thought it would. And maybe we just need to hit the ends a little harder here. Again, you just need to kind of see a hint of it there so you see that hand reading. Yeah. I mean, we could have just cheesed it and put like some kind of glowing magic on his hand, but I didn't want to rely on that. Oh, you know what we didn't also do is I didn't put proper shadows on these little strings here. Look at that. Oh boy. Let's get a little shadow on those. And the blood splatter went in front of the hourglass. Boy, we were getting really sloppy with this stuff, weren't we? This is why we're gonna just merge the whole thing now. I'm done. I'm done with it. Oh, I guess you would see it in the glass, right? Because it's through the glass, but this metal part you wouldn't. So we got to kind of fix that up. And there's that part there, and there's this part here, and then this part here, and then this we got the smoke in front, which is wrong. Now, something kind of fun to do toward the end here is to do an auto tone in Photoshop just to see what this photo would look like if Photoshop were to make it like corrected to basically expand it to the full value range and remove any kind of color tint. It sort of just it's sort of like flipping your canvas. It's sort of like seeing your image in a new light and calibrating your vision to almost like what would be the extreme version of your image. So there's the extreme version there. When I auto tone, you'll see it's basically removed. It's again, it's kind of giving us the full value range, and it's also killed that bluish tint. I mean, again, Photoshop's goal with auto tone is to like remove photos that are poorly lit or weirdly tinted or too dark, right? That's all it's doing. And those are, you don't, those are destructive to your image. They remove the mood from your image. So you don't want to do this, but it can sometimes be a way though to just see how much can I push the image before it breaks. And we lose a ton of nuance. I don't like it, but it is showing me though that the highlights could potentially be just ever so slightly stronger and still probably be fine. So I'm going to use a levels adjustment layer here, and I'm going to just turn up the highlights just a little bit. So you can kind of see we're just popping the highlights a little bit harder, and it helps the image just feel a little bit more. This is kind of like that weird mastering process where like if you're doing marketing art and stuff needs to really like slap people in the face, um, you know, people who do marketing art, they're very familiar with this whole like levels boosting and sharpening and all this stuff. You don't want to kill your pieces with that stuff. You got to be very careful about it. But a little hint of it here and there certainly can be helpful. So we're just doing a little boosting on the high end. And then we can also do stuff like we can get a few lost edges in the piece now because the character in the background are together. It's all flat. We can do some paint release stuff that will allow those things to sort of blend into each other. Which this again, I would caution you about overusing the technique. But just a little lost edge here and there can be a great way to give a little bit of a painterly effect. Sometimes it's hard to know where you can pull this off. Uh, Typically, things that want to kind of fade into the background, you can do it there a little easier. Or things that want to have a little bit of motion or energy to them, because it can kind of simulate a little bit of like a motion blur effect. But I definitely like kind of losing a few edges here and there in the piece, and just kind of like simulates that sort of painterliness. Like again, we're kind of like losing some of these edges into the atmosphere there. Gives it this cool kind of wispy effect. Yeah, breaking up the shapes exactly. Because if you're working layered and everything's separate, right, you have these clean edges, and it just feels too perfect, and it feels kind of artificial and very digital. And it's funny that we're like, leveraging digital, but we don't want it to feel digital. It's like, no, we don't. We actually want it to feel a little bit more painted. Oh, I got to fix this thing. Good thing we were looking at this in the moment there. Man, we really attempted to have a good perspective on that, and we just didn't get there, which is fine. And we could maybe lose an edge or two on that piece there. And I think there's probably even some people out there who would say I could go a lot harder with these lost edges. I'm probably too timid when I'm doing this, but yeah, we're getting a little bit in there. Certainly some of the stuff around this bloom here, I think is a great spot to have a little bit of that lost edge. But you don't want to lose all of it, right? Like having some super sharpness next to some softness is just candy for your eyes. So oh, I don't like that lost edge, but I want maybe one right there. Maybe we get one up here. Oh yeah, that's nice. Because if everything's sharp, then nothing is sharp, and that's not helpful. That's making our jobs really really difficult. So yeah, we're gonna try to ease up on it a little bit. I mean, certainly some of this stuff back here can get a little bit lost. Uh, yeah, I don't know that I've actually taken a piece quite this far on the channel yet. Like we've done other Ghostbusters characters, but I've kind of kept those a little bit more like looser concepts, you know. But like this is kind of starting to go a little bit more into like that polished illustration category, where you're just really like tuning all the edges and stuff. But hopefully somebody finds it interesting, right? Like watching somebody work on a piece this long, you kind of see, oh, if you want something to feel polished like that, then you know, you can't just like whip it out in like a few hours. It's actually, you know, you got to spend maybe a few days on it or something. And sometimes some pieces just come together easier than others. Like a piece that maybe seems more complicated, maybe it took you half the time. That's also not unusual. Like you're just gonna have a better flow sometimes. Maybe the subject matter was a little easier for you. Maybe just your initial idea or your pre-concepts and stuff were just more on the mark. That definitely happens. Cool. That's good. I'm glad you're liking it, Patrick. Definitely hoping there's like some value in it here. Let's get I'm kind of trying to get a little bit of motion on the cape here. It's also feeling kind of perfect over here, so kind of thinking maybe we grab this, duplicate it, and then just do a little bit of a warp. Except for maybe we do a liquefy. I guess warp's just not going to be granular enough for us. That's fine. I just want to kind of break up this shape a little bit here. Yeah, that feels better. Feels a little less, yeah, kind of like you said, those perfect edges make it feel artificial. Okay. Yeah, I think we got there's not any huge light hitting the front of him, so we're not going to really have any crazy bounce light going on here to address. You know, we talk about like ray tracing and stuff. I'm a huge fan of envisioning how light bounces around and stuff, but we just don't have a lot of light hitting the front, so we don't have an opportunity to really do a lot of that. Also, just there's not a lot of reflective surfaces going on, so there's that as well. And where we do have a bright light, we are playing with like that sort of bloom and radiosity going on where it matters. I still feel like these roots are a little too, like the edges are a little too perfect here. So I'm just going to kind of get a little smeary with it. It's going to feel kind of sloppy, but I just want them to be a little more kind of gestural and painterly. So I'm just using a smudge tool here to just kind of give them a little bit more life and have them sit in the environment a little bit better. We had a little more of a realistic approach to painting this character, the texturing and things like that. It wasn't super painterly. I've done some work that's a little bit more painterly, and we didn't quite have that approach with this one, which is fine. Like you know, I like both. I like showing that I can have a little bit of range within the character work. Um, And maybe we'll do some sci-fi stuff on the channel at some point. That could be kind of fun, right? Like show you guys how to invent weird robotics and all that kind of stuff. Could be interesting. But yeah, if you guys have anybody, if you guys know anybody who might be interested in some of the stuff we're doing on the channel, definitely send them over here. Give them a link. Always appreciate getting the word out. The more more support, obviously, the more time I can put into this stuff, right? And maybe get some guests on, and who knows where it can go. The sky really is the limit. Now, I also want to sort of dither the contrast at the edges of the roots here because they're just kind of sticking out a lot. Uh, uh, I don't want them to feel too separate. Should be kind of a gradient of contrast there. Ooh, that's probably too much though. Okay, yeah, that's good. Maybe we smear this around a little bit more here. Yeah, there tends to just be a lot of this sort of edge finessing when you merge it because the layers are always just very clean in their edges and stuff, and I don't like that. I mean, if you guys ever look at some of those really hot ArtStation posts, I mean, it's always just like mind blowing the kind of attention to detail people have. Like they just really polish the crap out of stuff, right? And it's deceiving. Like you got to really think about like how long some of those pieces are taking people. Now, it's not always true. Like sometimes the pieces are coming out pretty effortlessly, and kudos, but you don't know, right? Like those pieces never say on the thumbnail, this was a 2 week piece, right? Or this was a 2 hour piece. You just don't see that. So it's really important to kind of make fair comparisons. That's super important. I'm gonna pull this brightness back a little bit here on this pouch. That's feeling like it's coming forward a little too much. I think the values are reading pretty good still on it. Yeah, and we're overtime. So yeah, we had plenty of stuff to do in this stream, but I think just the level of kind of finesse that I wanted to give this. And I'm a big fan of Halloween. I love these kind of spooky characters. This guy Samhain, I think, is such a well-known character from the series, and so I wanted to make sure that we gave it just a really solid tribute image. Just again, so everybody kind of can see here. This is what we're starting with from the cartoon. So classic character, amazing, but also just very simple, having to be animated for a show. And our take on it here attempted to kind of elevate it, make it maybe a little bit more immersive, appropriate for maybe more of a modern game setting. What would we do to the materials? How might we tweak the design? But how can we also do something that still feels faithful to the original? That is tricky to do, and people who are fans of something are ruthless in their critique of a rework. So you always have to be sensitive to that. It shouldn't just feel like you put the original aside and said, "Well, I'm just doing my own thing," and then we'll just slap that name on it. I think that's not the correct way to approach a rework of something. It really needs to feel like you put effort into capturing what it originally intended to capture. Uh, and I think we did here. I hope. You guys can let me know, people who are fans of the show, if you guys see this. Um, yeah, hopefully you'll like the rendition here. But yeah, I think that's probably going to call it a wrap for Samhain. A little bit of a lengthy one this time, but again, hopefully people found something interesting along the way as we worked on this. Things are a little slower here on the channel than they would be if I was just here working on my machine without talking and all that. As you'd imagine, you can get in a little bit of a better flow state. But I really enjoy having a chance to share process with you guys, talk to other artists, everybody hanging out in the channel. Shout out to you guys. It's always fun chatting with you guys about stuff, even though the work does come out a little bit slower. So, just kind of keep that in mind in terms of, how long does a piece take? If you're not on stream talking and painting, it might go a little faster for you than this. And for me, it typically does. But yeah, I don't think that we took too long on it. I think we took just the right amount of time on it. And I do think the results pretty satisfying. So with that, everybody, we'll end things. Thanks again for hanging out. And next stream next week, I'll be ready with a new episode of the Real Ghostbusters to have a little story time to intro the next character we're going to rework. Um, and we'll just see where it goes. I don't have like a set number of characters that I want to do. I feel like we might be starting to we might be getting through all of the really well-known villains of the show. But I have to go and kind of look back through it and just see if there's some that I might be missing or some that might be really interesting to look at again, because I like the subject matter. It's super fun. But it's not something that will be on forever. So if you're watching this and you're like, man, I don't know, I'm not super into Ghostbusters. I wish, I like the stream, but I wish it was a different topic. Well, we're not going to be on this topic forever. So there might be something more interesting to you in the future. So stay tuned and stay creative, everybody. And we'll catch you next time. All right. Take care. Bye bye.